First
Yeah. Homework, right? Remember? Yeah.
That's not.
Forget? Anybody forgets the homework due dates?
No.
Nobody, right?
I have a few questions.
Okay. So if you have finished your homework, you should, right? Please give it to me by the end of today's class. Okay. So today let's continue our study on chapter 15. Okay. Oh, by the way, I will definitely grade your homework and give back to you on Friday, so you can refer your homework questions to prepare the exam. When will be the exam?
Monday.
Next Monday, right? So
You're gonna do a science test like you did
yes, I will. You also post the sample exam in Blackboard today, so you can refer to the sample exam. You can have the homework answer ready on Friday. Then hopefully you can spend the whole weekend to prepare the exam. Okay, so we have discussed the supply chain management, why it's important. So we went to the Indeed.com to search the supply chain positions in Charlotte area. There's about 1,000 positions opening now for supply chain. Similar Raleigh area, that's 500, about 500 positions. That's probably one reason why you study supply chain management. So by definition, the supply chain management is the strategic coordination of different business functions within one business organization and across its supply chain. The purpose for the supply chain management is to integrate supply and demand management. So you remember at the beginning of the semester, we talked about the relationship between supply and demand. So this relationship goes through for the whole semester. Our goal is to make this equal, right? Supply equal to demand. That's the reason we spend so much time on forecasting, okay, which can tell us, okay, the exact amount we want to have. That's why we spend a lot of time on inventory management. Your forecast tell us, okay, what is your demand level? We need to hold that exact demand to satisfy the customer requirements, right? So supply chain is the same idea. In different points, try to make supply equal to demand. But now we have to collaborate with our partners in the supply chain. As a supply chain manager, if you pursue the career in this field, okay, you have different levels of organization, up to C level, CSCO, Chief Supply Chain Office, and manager, okay, to the low level manager. Manage the supply and demand both within and across business organization. Several things you have to do, like sourcing and procurement, transformation activities, logistics, transportations. Several key aspects of supply chain management. The goal for supply chain management is to match the supply with demand as effective as possible. Right? We know we spend a lot of time already in this semester forecasting, quality control, location planning, capacity planning, inventory. The same goal. Then you may wonder why we want to study another chapter just to match this goal, supply equal to demand. Well, the reason is that nowadays we can't do the job by ourselves. We can, in fact, I should say we can, but most likely we'll do a poor job if we just do by ourselves. We use all the information about ourselves. We probably won't get very good forecasting. Our logistic management can be pretty poor, right? So we have to collaborate with our partners in the supply chain to make sure we have reached these goals. Right? So, okay. So by the way, I forgot to introduce Dr. Chris Zimlowski is in our class again. Last week, Dr. Kang was here, so I test you guys about the statistical background. Okay, because Dr. Kang is so today, Dr. Chris Zimlowski is here, so definitely we'll talk about globalization, right? Because both me and Dr. Zimlowski originally were not from US. Okay, that's very important for the supply chain. When we go globally, you have to collaborate with your global partners. So the first thing, determine the proper level of outsourcing. That's nowadays probably one of the most important decisions for supply chain. Okay, in your opinion, how can we determine the appropriate level of outsourcing? Especially when we want to outsource to a different country. How do you determine this level? Or maybe how do you determine whether we want to do the outsourcing or not? Which factors you consider for outsourcing?
Cost.
Cost? Very good. Could you go details or somebody go details about cost? There are so many different costs.
there can be cost of materials, but one of the biggest cost is the cost of payroll and
Labor costs.
labor.
Okay, so labor, Alan has mentioned labor costs and the material costs. Usually, when we do outsourcing to a foreign country, do we have a cheaper labor cost or more expensive labor cost? Usually it's cheaper, right? It depends. But if you outsource to Great Britain, that can be a different story, right? But most country, okay, labor cost is cheaper, average speaking. Material usually is cheaper, but it also depends because US has a lot of resources. Well, US labor is very expensive, but some material are not very expensive in US compared to like some other countries, right? So, okay, cost, that's usually is the benefits for outsourcing. Any other thing you should consider, whether you want to go outsourcing or the level of outsourcing? Dylan?
Maybe location.
Location, very good points. Okay, how will you address location? For example, if you have several different potential countries like Mexico, like China, like Poland, like Ghana, if they're from different places of the world, how can you assess those, for example, these 4 locations? Which one fits you best?
Probably the best. The one you probably want to be located where you're going to sell more products to.
Mm-hmm.
So location is
Demand driven, you mean that's
Yeah.
the market driven. That's very good point. That's we can open a door for our new markets. That's one thing as well. Something else we should consider. To choose a location, because now outsourcing you have a lot of choice. Not like just Mexico. Right? You have a lot of choice. Then what you consider? If you say okay, like Alan's point, so the cost is cheaper for all these locations, then you should go outsourcing. But there's still a choice, right? How do you determine that? Which location, which continent to go, which country to go, and then later which region of this country to go.
One with the most resources.
Best resource.
Best resources.
The resource include, okay, Joshua, the resource definitely include material, right? That's one resource. Any other resource?
Human resource.
Human resource.
Are they smarter? I mean, what kind of education levels do you?
Very good, very good. Anna has a very good point. Usually, traditional company manufacturing, they do outsourcing because they seek for cheaper labor. But nowadays, so many high-tech companies, they do outsourcing. For example, Microsoft has just built a very, very big development center in India. Why they want to do that? Right? Because the innocent people, Indian folks are very good at IT. There's a lot of talented people in that country. So that's why Microsoft want to develop a big research center in India. And so that's a resource, human resource. Any other resource, if we decide to outsource to a country, to see whether this is a good choice or not?
Transportation.
Transportation, very good. Infrastructure, right? For example, yeah, some country maybe they have very cheap labor, but so it's very expensive to bring the products back to US or whatever country you work in, right? So that's infrastructure is a big problem, right? And also some others like legal issues. Well, we haven't talked about tax benefits. There are lots of things you to determine. Okay, that's we talk all about foreigner. Okay, now the outsourcing place benefits or disadvantage. Anything we should consider domestically? When we do the outsourcing, should we consider it, anything in the United States? The level of outsourcing?
Consider stakeholders.
Yes, definitely. Okay, maybe traditionally most of your stakeholders, many of your stakeholders are from United States. Definitely. For example, your employees, right? Your shareholders. So you should consider that the image, your brand in US. Right? So example, like 2 years ago, Burger King. Okay, they have a big movement. Anybody know that? What's happened to Burger King 2 years ago? That's a merge happened for Burger King 2 years ago. Huh? Do you remember? Montreal. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, you have this name, right? Montreal is very similar to Montreal. I also taste Montreal. Well, Tim Hortons, you remember, it's a Canadian company. Right, very good. Okay, you should travel to Montreal, by the way. So Tim Hortons, so Burger King merged with Tim Hortons 2 years ago. There are several reasons they want to merge, right? One obvious reason is that Tim Hortons is very good at breakfast. Okay, well, traditional Burger King is not very strong on breakfast, especially compared to McDonald's. So when merge happen, Burger King gets this comparative advantage of the menu of breakfast to compete head-to-head with McDonald's. Some other reason they deny, but many people think is that after the merge, officially Burger King become a Canadian company. What's the benefit when they do that? Become
People are gonna, Canadians believe they're more of what they are, and they're not an American company, so they're gonna spend more money, they're gonna have more loyalty, I guess I'm saying. Some of
that, but that's for Canada. The market usually is smaller than US. Dylan?
Probably easier entry to Canada or vice versa.
Yeah, but Tim Hortons is already in Canada. Is very successful company in Canada for so many years. If you ask Doug Doyle, you can definitely tell lots of story about Tim Hortons, right? Yeah. Why Burger King want to become theoretically speaking Canadian company? Think about
It's
it.
a lot cheaper to be headquartered in a place in Canada than America.
That's cheaper is right. That's what's the reason it was so cheaper?
Tax.
Well, it's very good.
taxes.
Jeez, you should speak out, right? Why you hesitate? I really like Jun. Just come to my office twice, okay? He so far, I think he is the only person coming to my office to ask me homework questions. Some of you send me email, but I want to praise Jun. So because otherwise my office always like useless, right? Okay, that's very important. Next time I hope most of you come to my office, alright? Ask me about homework question. So tax, corporate tax, Canada is lower than United States. Okay, that is a new type of outsourcing, right? They play that something like that. No, but Burger King receive a lot of pressure after this merger happened because a lot of US customers say we will boycott Burger King because we lose the tax money from Burger King, right? From so on. Procurement is similar, right? So procurement nowadays usually you have different choice of suppliers. You have so many suppliers, and it can be your laborers, okay, can be a company in South Carolina, can be a company in California, can be a company in different country. Then you have to determine, okay, which place you want to purchase. Manage your suppliers. So when we say suppliers, that means you already have multiple suppliers. I want to ask you a question, especially for big companies like Fortune 500 level company. Usually they have multiple suppliers. Like for example, I think which company? Kraft Food, right? They definitely order sugar right, to produce their products. They have different suppliers to provide their sugar. My question is that why you want to have multiple suppliers? And for example, sugar. Why? I think the quality is very similar, right? For supply. Why you want to keep multiple suppliers? So that means it's increase your working load, right? You have to place order for different supplier. Why? Any reason you want to have multiple suppliers? Alan?
Because if there's a problem like there could be a strike at a sugar factory or something, you want to have an option to have another source to keep your business going. You don't want to rely on.
Yeah, backup plan, right?
Backup plan.
Yeah, definitely. So usually the company have a major supplier, but have multiple small suppliers. Very good point. Any other reason why we want to keep multiple supplier? Backup plan is good. Any other reason?
Manipulate them on cost-wise. You can say you can actually save money if you have
Negotiate,
multiple
right?
suppliers.
Negotiation, right? So because you can compel, right? Very good. Another reason I want to mention is that you think about the competition. Well, if you only have one supplier, right? If you only have that, you are a big company, right? And then if this supplier has a very stable revenue from you, yes, he or she or this supplier can become a big company, successful company. The bargaining power will increase for this supplier in the long term. Right? That can threaten your benefits. Another thing is that if you just collaborate with one supplier, we'll talk about supply chain management, he has to know a lot of information about you. Otherwise, you can't collaborate very well. After 10 years, 20 years, we have seen again and again, this supplier, they want to move to your industry. They say, I already have the material, right? Let's move to the manufacturing. Right? I already have manufacturing, let's move to the retailer store. Because I know what you are doing in the business for 10 years, 20 years. So that can be a problem. So that's why you can see big companies, most likely they have multiple suppliers. Right? They want small suppliers survive in that industry, so compete with big supplier. So this big supplier only worry a lot about its own industry instead of think about okay, come to our industry or bargain with us. So, okay, customer relationship. We don't need to talk too much about that. I think in the marketing class, the different professor like Professor Simonovsky must tell you guys how important to have a very good relationship with your customers. Okay, that's can be the most important thing. You should be able to quickly identify problems and respond to them. That's supply chain management. Flow management. When we talk about supply chain, right, traditionally we think about is, okay, that's flow, right? From the supplier to manufacturer, to distributor, to retailer, and then finally to customer. And then this direction is the flow of the products, right? You have raw material from supplier go to manufacturing, and the products shipped to the distribution center, and the retailer store finally customer gets this. So when we talk about supply chain, traditionally the flow is the first one, product and service flow, right? But there are some other very important flows in the supply chain system. For example, information flow. Right? So we have talked about sharing the forecasting data and sales data, tracking shipments. We have seen that. Right? You place order in Amazon, you will automatically get tracking shipments, updating the order status, whether it's ready to ship or something like that. Right? So this information flow can be any direction. It's not necessarily from upstream to downstream. It can be any direction. Right? Your customer can provide feedback direct to the supplier. Say, okay, I don't like the quantity of sugar in this cookie. But that's the information sharing. So it can be any direction. Financial flow. So usually, what's the direction of the financial flow? The payments happen. It's from customer to inverse way, right? Just already mentioned. So that is the financial flow, right? Customer pay to retailer, retailer pay to the distribution center, and then distributor pays manufacturer, and manufacturer pays the supplier. Okay. So another thing I want to emphasize this. We talk about supply chain. A lot of time we talk about supply chain, but you should think bigger than supply chain. Usually nowadays, it's not just supply chain, it's not just simple chain. You think about it, we have talked about supplier. Usually there's multiple supplier, right? Then a manufacturer has multiple supplier, right? It can be different distribution center. Lots of retailers or customer can be any place in the world. So supply chain nowadays most likely is a supply network, right? So it's really a network. It's a big network. So it's very, very complex to manage. It's not so straightforward as a chain. But especially information direction can be anywhere. So just pay attention to that. The trend in supply chain management. Okay, the first thing is that you can talk about a lot of good things or good projects you have done, but at the end of the year, the shareholder, stakeholder, they want to see money talks. What is the return on investments, ROI? Right? So that's why when I was a consultant before I joined to UNC Pembroke, right, I think I did a lot of work on like do the demand forecasting, transportation management, inventory management, provide the results to my clients. But usually when we approach close to the end of the project, consultant like me has to spend a lot of time on reporting, on demonstrative work, to up to their speed. I got a lot of pressure, like every day, at the end of the projects, of Unilever projects. Because my director told me, okay, very careful. Your reports can be seen by the C-level position in Unilever. That's really high level, right? Maybe he only spent like 5 minutes on my reports. So in the reports, we have to demonstrate, okay, not just a forecast accuracy. We have to see forecast, okay, from 70% to 80%. Well, that's not the C-level position people want to see. They want to see the money saved, right? They invest $1 million on your software. You told him like, okay, I increased the 10% accuracy. Not enough. We have to see the dollar. Inventory. How much inventory costs we save per year? Okay. Each country, India, US, Britain, how many inventory costs we save per year? Category, like grocery food or shampoo, okay, conditioner, soap, in this category, how much we save? All the things, finally, we have to demonstrate by money. That's a return on investment because they invest $1 million, okay, on the projects, global projects. You have to save them at least multi-million dollars. Green, What do you think about green the supply chain? What does this mean, in your opinion? Make the supply chain green. Kayla? Sustainability, very, very good. That's, we have a class about sustainability in school business. That's a very, very important topic nowadays for sustainability. Anything else? Make supply chain green? Have you ever heard about reverse logistics? Yeah, anybody? Okay, Alan has heard about, what does this mean to you?
Well, when you deliver something, let's say you have to deliver something in California, you're making sure that when that truck comes back, you're bringing something with you, so it's not just coming back without anything in it.
Yeah, that's good source. But in tradition, usually when we say reverse logistics, that's okay. After the customer use the product, at the end of life cycle, maybe not, it's not the end of life cycle, like we change the cell phone every 1 or 2 years, it's still usable. And then, anyway, when customer decide to switch to some other products, you want to do recycle, to collect the item back, you can reuse the components. Okay, that's also make the supply chain green. Right? Very good. Outsourcing we have discussed a lot. Re-evaluates. Okay, nowadays there's a trend of reshoring. Have you guys heard about that? So that means okay, we bring the job back to the United States. Okay, we traditionally outsource to some other country, we bring back to the United States. Why? Many companies want to bring the job back to the United States. They say, okay, outsourcing, as you see, this portion is not a good idea. We want to bring them back to the United States. Why? Any reasons? Bring the jobs back to the United States. Except our president said that. Okay, that's everybody knows that. But company, okay, they have their rational thoughts. Why they want to bring jobs back to the United States?
More revenue.
Revenue? How can you get more revenue when you bring back job back to the United States? Think about cost. Which cost we can save if we bring them back to the United States?
Shipping costs?
Very good. Transportation, shipping costs. Jeans, right? Okay. Jeans should change the name to become from jeans to genius. That's my suggestion. Yeah, so transportation costs, shipping costs. Right? Anything else? Any other benefits? We want to bring those jobs back to the United States. Tax benefits, right? Definitely, right? You have the subsidies from different states, different state level, federal level, right? So that's definitely image, your brand image for domestic customers. So that's why it's bring back to the United States. I want to share my experience with you guys about this reshoring, okay, the bring jobs back. So when we talk about outsourcing, traditionally we think about like entry-level positions like laborers, manufacturing, right, outsource. And frankly speaking, most of the job we outsource for manufacturing. Now, as least in current state, it's hard to bring them back because our labor costs and material costs is there. Foreign countries are here. It's really hard to bring them back. First, we have to have the means. Okay, but on the other hand, there are some jobs we bring back. For example, some like middle level, even a little bit high level job. Okay, like IT job, we bring back. Okay. One example I can share with you guys. Before I joined UNC Pembroke, I almost joined Staples. I didn't tell Chris, so Chris just keep the secret from me because when they help me, they don't know that. Okay, yeah. So I had an on-site interview on Staples early 2012. Before I had an interview in UNC Pembroke, you said I think okay. I reject every company they want me because they don't want to come here. Okay, Staples. I have applied their position about supply chain. I forgot supply chain and analyst or something like that. This position in Boston area. So I went to that site, I had an interview with their manager, and I asked one question there. I say, when I search online, I find you have multiple openings around the supply chain field, at least like 5 or 10 openings. This is pretty rare because usually the company has opening because okay, people retire, people left. You have suddenly so many positions come together. It's not an entry-level position. I asked the manager why. When he said, oh, you have very sharp observation. And he told me why. Because all these positions are originally in India. Supply chain analysts, the supply chain IT support, something like that. Originally they are Indian. They want to bring all the jobs back to the United States. So those are not entry-level jobs. I don't get the offer. Maybe overqualified or something like that. Maybe I ask too high. I only ask about $100,000. Well, I think maybe that's too high for them. But I believe the payment should be at least around $80,000. So it's not an entry level position. Right? Why you want to bring salary position like $80,000 to $100,000 positions back to United States? I would think Indian folks get much lower payments than this. Why Stables want to bring them back? What's the problem? If you have supply chain consultants, supply chain analysts, IT folks working in India, with headquarters of Staples in United States, what's can be the problems? They have problems, so that's the reason they bring them back. No problem? Communication. Communication is one problem. Yeah, but you know that Indian folks, they speak pretty decent English, right? That's usually language is not a big deal. But you think about, we are very far away. That's what's the problem. Have you think about when you travel to overseas, when you have a time, very good, Joshua, right? When Stables, you have problem, usually it's data. Right? For example, I did this reports early in the morning. I say I did this supply chain report, so I can make a decision on the afternoon's meeting. Well, when you say that in the morning, you know that Indian time zone is very different with us. Like maybe Chris know better with me. 11 hours, something like that. Time zone different.
Well, it's already tomorrow there.
Yeah, something like that, right? It's very funny that India is that when I was doing a consulting job with Indian folks, they said, okay, Charles, let's meet on 11:30 p.m. in your place. I asked him, I understand I have to meet very late, but why is 11:30? Because 11:30 is an indigent time for them. They have half an hour time zone. I'm not sure whether other countries have that, but in India they have half an hour time zone. So I think it's too complex, but. Yeah, but anyway, so that's make the problem, right? If in the morning you say we have a problem, and they're off, they can give you back to the next day, and this can create a lot of problem for us. Right? So that's why, and they want to bring one more important is the manager told me want to bring the job back to United States. It's not entry level job. So you can see when we decide to reshore, there's a lot of benefits: communication on time, save the transportation costs. Okay. That's a lot of benefits, also image of our products in the United States. So you should re-evaluate outsourcing decision. Another thing about outsourcing, it's not reshoring. Okay. As we have discussed, a lot of manufacturing job is really hard to bring back to the United States. But when you decide, for example, you decide to outsource to China 10 years ago, let's say you have made this decision 10 years ago. And for many companies nowadays, they have to get out of China. Do you know why? They do outsourcing 10 years ago in China. They have went through very serious analysis. They find, okay, that's the best place to do the outsourcing. Now they move out from China to Iran, to Indonesia, to different countries. Why they want to do that? Why they have to do that?
China, I mean, I don't know if it's the reason for having, but I think China is, because as they've grown, it's kind of like the U.S. Their wages are going up as well, so it's not a good ROI as well.
Alan know that. I can tell you my experience. That's okay. Like I think 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, when my parents with us the first time, before they came back to China, my uncle said, "I want to buy a Nike shoes in the United States." Okay. He only have one requirement. No, what's type of Nike? He say, okay, not made in China because okay, we are from China, so I don't want to bring something from United States made in China. So I say, Uncle, I'm not sure. I think my impression is most of Nike products are made in China. So we went to Kohl's to find Nike shoes. Surprisingly, 5 years ago, no shoes when I find in Kohl's is made in China. Nike shoes. They totally change. Made in Indonesia, made in Malaysia, made in Iran. Okay, it's raised my concern. Why? My uncle don't need to. He doesn't need to worry about that. Okay, it's not made in U.S. We have to admit that, but it's also made in China. And then we understand, like Adam talked about, right? The salary, the cost. Not just the salary. Salary is increased crazily in the past 10 years or 15 years in China. It's crazily. Like my classmates, when I graduate, I earn in Shanghai. I earn like $400 per month. That was my income. It's very, very typical, the medium income for good students from good top university, $400 per month. Nowadays, Okay, that's you can't. You simply can't survive if you only on $400 per month in Shanghai or Beijing. So, okay, definitely they're much more than. One thing I already mentioned is labor cost, right? Wage. Anything else, China or some other outsourcing place, they become less attractive. Besides just the labor cost, any other costs?
Utilities.
Utilities. Very good points, Joshua. Utility definitely they increase. Another importance is that real estates, your property. Think about in US, we house price increase a lot in the past 5 years, but we are like pretty stable, right? Close to our inflation rates. But in the developing country, if their GDP grows 5%, most likely their housing price grow at least 10% per year. So like double. So you can see the problem here, right? If our GDP grows 2%, our house price double 4%, it's still acceptable. But if your GDP grows like 5%, your house price grows 10% every year for 10 years. Okay, the foreign country company, they can't afford. But they have to re-evaluate, they have to outsource to a different country. But the question that do you want to do that so frequently, every 10 years, every 5 years? It's so expensive, right? We're talking about location. You shut down the facility in China, you move even to the labor country, Yelan. It's pretty close by. But still a lot of costs. You don't want to do that every 5 years. So you want to be very careful about outsourcing. Okay. You think about why we are, US is a developed country, right? That means we already passed the stage. Okay, we already developed. The country, so many countries are called developing countries because they are really developing. They're developing very fast. So they change very fast compared to the pace here. So when we do the outsourcing, you should think about not just now, not just 5 years. What's about 10 years later? I know it's extremely hard. When we talk about long-term forecast, it is almost impossible to get a good forecast. But you have to think about that. At least you have to prepare some backup plan. That's very important. IT integration. That's very important. Okay, maybe a few of you guys later when you are in industry, you are do a lot of IT job. I can tell you, if you want to become a very good at supply chain management, you can't avoid the IT integration because you have to collaborate with your players in the supply chain. When I was doing the consulting project for Unilever Crafts, okay, I was not IT folks. So we rely on IT folks, they do the integration. For example, every morning we run our engine, run our software to generate the forecast results for Unilever. Then how can Unilever get these results? By Excel? You can't believe that, right? Nobody gets Excel. It's not trustable, right? So basically, we generate a file of the outputs. The integration will do this, okay, automatically. Not you have to click early in the morning. Automatically transform your file to Unilever's database, and then extract this file and insert in their already existing table. So Unilever folks, when they wake up, they can see automatically, okay, that's the result from consulting company. Already show in my forecast table the next day. But that's, you think about it, it has to be done every day, okay. And also there's some database change, location change, there's a lot of IT issues, you have to handle that. Lean principles, okay, save costs, definitely. Risk management, there's a lot of risk for the supply chain. So for example, that's the reason we want different suppliers. That's the reason we re-evaluate the outsourcing decisions. Okay, we've already talked a lot of the benefits of outsourcing. Okay, low price, focus on its own strengths, commercial fixed cost to variable cost. Don't have to invest a big facility nowadays if you do the outsourcing. Free up capital. Some risk can be shifted to the supplier. Well, you don't handle you don't produce sugar, right? It's not your problem, inventory or something like that. Ability to take advantage of your supplier's expertise makes it easy to expand outside of the home country. So you think about even the top company, they still do outsourcing like Apple, right? Apple will already have the iPhone 8, right? We'll have the iPhone X release very soon. In iPhone, their component directly produced by Samsung. So if you have iPhone, right? You guys have iPhone, right? You have component directly produced from Samsung. That's outsourcing. That means Apple outsourced to Samsung. For important component in iPhone, they are top product. Why? Any benefits here? The supplier's expertise. That's simply, very simple. Samsung did a better job on this component than Apple. So, iPhone says, let's do that outsourcing. Right. Risks. Transportation. You think about it, if you want to outsource just to Mexico or Canada, most likely you have much longer lead time than you produce in United States. Right? Increase transportation costs, and also time increase, but also the cost increase. Language and culture difference. Okay. For language, I want to ask you guys, do you think it's easy to conquer the language difference or it's easy to conquer the culture difference? Which one do you think is easy to conquer? Language. Why? So I think I agree with you guys. I absolutely agree with you guys. Why you think it's easy to go through this language difficulty compared to culture?
Because our culture is built from the time we're born, so sometimes people have a hard time adapting to others' ways. They don't want to change.
Yes. I think you are to the point, right? So language, you spend a lot of time, right? When you think about it, we are doing business, we don't expect our partner can speak the English like our English teacher can do, right? We just require communication, right? But culture is really hard to conquer. It's extremely hard. Well, even in the same company, well, I find the culture can be very different for different regions. Right? I did the global project for Unilever, so I have no problem to communicate, to collaborate with the people in the North American region of Unilever. Generally, it's the U.S. people and the Canadian folks. Right? I have little problem when I did the European project with Unilever. I only complained for Europe. Okay. Chris is here, I shouldn't say that, but I will say that. So the problem is, the only complaint I have when we did the project for the European team is that in the summertime, they're very professional, very knowledgeable, but in the summertime, 3 people should work with us. Only 1 person is online. In the whole 3 months, only 1. They rotate to have vacation. Because we know in European country, or in the company European, do you know how many vacation days they have usually when you start up a job? Okay, let's first ask the US. When you begin your first job, official full-time job, how many paid vacation days you expect to have in a typical company?
2 weeks.
10 days? See what I mean?
I said every 2 weeks or every month. Some people
Uh-huh.
do every month.
Yeah, but you have annual, right? Paid leave days. 2 weeks, usually 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks to 3 weeks. It depends on your position, but 2 weeks. How about Europe? How many days do you expect? If you work in a company in Europe, maybe like
Longer time.
Dr. Zimnosky can tell us more about that. Very long, right?
2 months usually.
2 months.
Longer.
Right. 2 months. That's what those I said, right? That's we ask a professional person tell us 2 months. Then you can expect people will use that vacation most likely in summer. So in the summertime, our working efficiency is very low because there only 1 person is here.
And they don't bring any machines with them either.
Yeah. Then when they are on vacation, they say, okay, vacation. Like in US, right? Like for example, I hate myself. 2 years ago, when I was in Cancun, I still send email to students, ask them about number registration and also the advising. I say, I'm in Cancun. It's January 2nd. Okay, when you send me email about the PIN number, okay, I still try to reply. I think we get a bad habit since I work in the consulting company before. So I bring my laptop, I check my email. No, I can't say. Hold on, I wait. Okay, just reply. But in different countries, they have different habits, right? But that's minimal, right? But when I had the projects with India, Indian side, I had a big problem. One big problem is that, okay, every meeting, most likely at the end of the meeting, we'll ask you, do you have any questions about us? Do you have concern or question about the pace of the projects? You don't understand some technical parts, please ask me. Most likely they will say, no, Charles, you did a very good job. We don't have any questions. Okay, I assume that means they are happy. And the second day, early in the morning, a direct come to me, Charles, come to my office. The manager in Indian team told me, you didn't explain this, that very well to them. So it's like this direction, right? So they don't contact you directly. That's me. And then on the other, they go to their manager. Their manager go to my manager, director, and they come back to me. We meet almost every day. But they seldom say, oh, Charles, you suck. They never say that. Right? Charles, you did a poor job. Okay, they all say, you are a fantastic person, oh, you are so nice, you are so patient. And then, okay, at the end of the day, that's the worst scenario, right? Well, what do you think my director will give the evaluation on me, right? So you didn't do a very good job, obviously. So I was so painful, right? That's another problem is that, okay, culture, right? For Indian folks, for example, when we meet with Europe, we also have time zone difference. We want to collaborate. For example, like European, right? We want to meet early in the morning, so it's their late afternoon. So everybody can accept this result. But when I work for the Indian people, I think because they are hard working, they assume you should work 24 hours per day. So they set meeting time is 11:30 p.m. I still have to come to company on 8:30 the next day. Right? My director won't say you meet on 11:30. That's your job, your global job. But they set the meeting time 11:30. I believe at least they can set a meeting time a little bit early, like 9 p.m. Right? But they say okay, 11:30. Let's do that. Right? So that's probably one reason I left the company because I don't want to meet again on 11:30 p.m. Okay, so I agree with you guys. Cultural difference is really, really hard to conquer. So that's why so many professors, I believe, Dr. Zimnovsky also told you guys, suggest you guys travel. You travel more, you will become more open-minded, you understand different culture, you adapt better for different culture. Because we have benefits. Nowadays, it's really hard to imagine you guys in the future, you never collaborate with folks from different countries, with company from different countries. Okay, you want to understand. Even United States, we're a very diversified country, right? There's so many different cultures. Okay. Job loss, okay, definitely. You have complaints from your own nation. Loss of control, we have discussed that, right? If you outsource all the things, what's your core competitive advantage? Lower productivities. Basic knowledge loss. That is very critical. Right? Your supplier, they know your knowledge, your technicals. Transfer and intellectual property concern. That's always a big concern for a company. Increased efforts required to manage the supply chain. Let's talk a little bit about intellectual property. In your opinion, what items that belong to this intellectual property for the company? Do you have some idea? You know the property, right? You can't steal like cups from your company, right? That's property. What is the intellectual property?
Well, it can be technically how you create a product or a service or whatever that nobody else has, and you don't want them to understand the process.
Let's ask you a question. My scenario, my case. Okay, when I was a consultant, besides I did a lot of tedious like mathematical job on forecast inventory, I create reports. Some report they are high level person you want to see. Some other report like user guide. I just tell you okay how to use our software, how to look at our forecast result, how to explain this forecast result, how to click some buttons. I write the reports like 20 pages, several different reports. Do you think I can bring these reports out of the company when I left the company or not?
No.
Why I can't? That's my job. Every single word was typed by me. But that's Charles' job. I write down Charles' show. No, I didn't write down. This is why?
The information belongs to them.
Yes. Even that you did the job, and so all you use their computer, use their knowledge, that is all the things. How about coding? Some folks write some code, write some software. You write like 1,000 lines of code. Can you copy the code and then bring out? You cannot. That's you guys want to be very cautious about it. I have a colleague, previous colleague before. He gets a big offer from Oracle. Have you guys heard about Oracle, right? Oracle is a big company. So he was so happy to switch job from my previous company to Oracle. So last 2 days, when he was still in my previous company, he downloaded several reports from our server. Several reports. And he said he just want to personal study Well, some reports they are familiar with. He's familiar with that. Some reports is done like him. Right? He just want to study. But the last day, I remember that's the long weekend of Memorial Day because the sites closed early, 3 p.m. I was there because I waited for my wife to come from Indiana, arrive at LaGuardia on like 6 p.m. So I stay in my company. 5 p.m. I go to LaGuardia. And then they have the exit interview, HR people, director with this colleague. And the atmosphere become more and more serious. Even the CEO calling attend a conference call. Around 4:30, I was the only like 3 people still left in the company. We see 2 cops come to our floor, 6th floor, to grab my colleague out. And the next Monday, because the rumor spreads very fast, and most likely is I spread the rumor because I was the one of the people there. So everyone know, oh, this person was caught by policeman last Friday. And CEO clarified, okay, this person, this colleague, downloaded several products, reports from our server. Okay, they are very sure it's not transferred to Oracle or any other company yet. It's still in his personal laptop, but it's the intellectual property. Don't make a mistake like that. Okay? Homework, everybody. Nobody want to give me a homework? I'm so sad. You never finish your homework. You finished? This time? Okay.